Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Millennial Power Couple Show. I'm super excited that you guys have decided to join us because we have a very interesting topic that we have on our hands. Listen, guys, it's episode 6 of Millennial Power Couples. Our topic is divorce was best for me. I'm your host, Portia Johnson, and my co-host,
Justin Johnson.
And we have a fabulous guest speaker. I'm super excited to have her in the house with us today. She's a coach. She's a businesswoman and entrepreneur. Please introduce yourself.
Peace and blessings, everybody. I'm Miss Allison Denise, and I am very happy to be here
We're
to discuss this topic. I am.
So, Allison, I want to ask you, with the topic that we have, Jada Pinkett Smith made this statement.
Okay.
Make sure you are with someone who is interested in mastering themselves. So we want you to hold on to that quote, and I want Allison to either add to it or explain what that meant. But let's talk about before you were married. Who were you?
Before I was married, I call it my previous lives because I am literally not the same person. Literally just not the same person. But I was a nerd. I still am.
Yeah.
I hung out with friends. I was, slightly insecure only in one area, which was relationships. And excelled at work, excelled at hanging out with friends, sang a little bit, used to pay my rent, singing karaoke and all that good stuff. But I think I was just still finding my way. I think I had decided that who I was the smart person in the group.
Yeah.
I was the smart person, and maybe I'd get married, maybe I wouldn't. I didn't know. At the time, I had decided that I really didn't want to get married, and I can, we can get into that later, but I decided I didn't want to get married, and then I started thinking, well, other people are. Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of settled into being the smart girl who didn't mind working 2 or 3 jobs at a time.
That was your identity, your
That
specialty. You're like,
that
hey,
was me.
I'm going to accept this role, and that's who I am.
Exactly.
So let's talk about something along the line helped guided and shifted your mindset and said marriage was it. Tell us about how long were you married, and just describe your marriage at the time.
I was married for... Okay, I finished my sharing.
No, it's fine.
I was married for 5 years. We were together for 8. And he was just a really sweet guy. He was very nice. He was very funny. And I think at the time, I still saw a little bit of innocence in him, meaning, people I had dated prior to him, they just seemed to have this mindset of the world and of women where it was always, I'm going to date him, but I'm going to date him like this. And he didn't seem to have that. And so I think that's what pulled me in. Like there weren't any games, He approached me, and I told him I didn't date smokers, and he stopped smoking. And we, went out on a couple of dates, and after a couple of dates, which was, usually the norm for me at that time, after a couple of dates, it was, hey, I'd like to make this official. And so I was used to that, but I had gotten away from that for so many years that it just felt different as an adult. So, he was funny, smart, didn't know he was smart, didn't know he had the different talents that he did. He had dealt with a lot of different disappointments and things like that, along with other things that family members had poured into him that weren't necessarily great.
Yeah.
And so, he had a little bit of insecurity too.
Okay.
So with that insecurity, where did it lead to where you saw some signs?
So I would have to say that I was one of those women, and I know that there are other women who can relate to this, but you kind of get a different eye after you have children.
Okay.
So I went from not wanting to get married, not wanting to have kids, to getting married, to finding out I was having a baby and I was on the pill and all those things. And so, things happen, and it wasn't that fast. It happened over a period of about 3 to 4 years. But just having my son and then seeing him in a different light. Like I was no longer seeing him as a husband. Now I was seeing him as husband and father. Now it was husband and father. And then some of those little things that I might have thought were cute or might have thought were just little idiosyncrasies. Now they just started to have greater weight.
Yeah.
Now it was, okay, you really don't want to participate in A, B, C, and D. You really aren't doing E, F, G, and H. It started to feel like I'd given birth to one son, but I was kind of raising two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And definitely, you know, I know it's a lot of women pretty much going through some of the same situation that you've been through as well. So leading to the next question is, what was the hardest part about the relationship?
The hardest part was me losing who I was.
Wow.
So what I mean by that is, you know, like I said, I'm a glorified nerd. I don't hide that. I love learning. I'll pick up a book before I'll ever pick up a remote control.
Yeah.
And so it was little things like when I met him, I was at the tail end of getting my 4-year degree. But I always knew I wanted to get my master's. And so, you know, I kept pushing it back, and then we got married, and I thought, okay, cool, I'll get that, you know, but first I wanted to see if he wanted a 4-year degree because he didn't have one. And, you know, I went so far as to say, hey, you know, the way that we have our bills and everything right now, you know, I know that you're not into school like I am, so you just go to school and don't do anything else, and I'll hold us down for those 4 years. He didn't want to do that. And so I started to pick up very quickly that he wanted the 6-figure lifestyle, but he didn't necessarily want to do
the 6-figure work.
The 6-figure work, right? Like I'm the person, and I'm still like that today. I'm the person that, okay, I want that. Let me find someone who's done it. Now let me see what they did to get it.
Right.
Ew, that sucks, but they got what I want.
Right.
So I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And he kind of just stopped at it sucks.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I still want this, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't interested in going back to going to get a degree. And then when I kept bringing up getting a master's, I would always hear something to the effect of, you just want to go back to school to find someone smarter than me so that you'll leave. And, you know, I was also, you know, at that point very heavily inundated with a lot of religious rhetoric. And a lot of the religious rhetoric that I was given at that time, and let me say that for people who might be listening, it wasn't from my pastor solely, it was from anyone that I was speaking with at that time. So a lot of it was, you know, your marriage is supposed to come before anything. It's supposed to come before your dreams. It's supposed to come before anything that you want to do. So if your spouse ever tells you that something you're wanting to do is bothering them, you just don't do it. And so me not getting the degree then turned into me not reading as many books. Then it turned into me watching more TV than I normally would. Then it turned into, you know, not hanging out with some of my more intellectual friends, because when we would go together, he would kind of just sit like a bump on a log and be in his feelings a little bit. Yeah. So I was just slowly losing the parts of me that I really like about me. I was really slowly losing that, and it just got really difficult. This is something I talked about. I don't know if I talked about it in a Facebook Live of mine or a post, but you know, after I had my son, it was like the puberty that didn't hit me during puberty hit me after childbirth. Yeah. So then I was getting used to these extra curves and these extra, you know, bra sizes that I wasn't used to. And I'm wearing outfits that were okay before, but now with the new body, I'm being told I can't wear this and you don't want to do that. And so I'm dealing with all of that at one time. And the insecurity, it just got to be too much. It just got to be too much. I'm here. I'm home every day. I'm taking care of our son because you don't necessarily put in a whole lot of effort to do that. So how am I even going to find the time to do what you're accusing me of doing? Yeah. And so it just got really tiring. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say, you said something that was very interesting. You said that you had gotten to a point where you were starting to lose who you were. And how did it get to a point where they say in your vows to death do us part, right? That is the legal vow that people commit to. Yeah. but you only have one life.
Exactly.
How did you get to the point where you made a decision? I respected my vows, I understood it, but I have one life. When did you decide I need to get a divorce?
So I initially asked for a separation.
Okay.
North Carolina, where I'm from and where we were married, you had to be separated for 1 year and 1 day before you could even talk about a divorce anyway. Divorce was not necessarily on my mind. At that point, I had just grown tired, and so one of the points was growing up. I did have quite a few of women friends and girlfriends. I had a lot of guy friends, and they were just that. They were guy friends, and you know, because of some of the things that I dealt with growing up with albinism, they were the ones who would normally stick up for me if I was being picked on and stuff like that. So I just have an affinity towards men, not in a sexual way.
Yeah.
I just feel comfortable around them. So still with the religious rhetoric, we were taught, you know, you don't have any friends of the opposite sex. So I had to basically let go of a lot of the male friends that I had. And so at the beginning it seemed cool, but you know, at this point we're talking 6.5, 7 years in, and I'm noticing that, you know, I've had to change my son's daycare because he won't get up to take him, and I'm having to basically create this life where it's easier for me because he doesn't necessarily want to contribute. And he may have had his own reasons. He may have been afraid of being hands-on with his son. He may have been afraid of not necessarily being the father that he wanted to be. He has his own reasons, and so I don't, you know, bash him for that. But it just got to a point where I was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and you're still accusing me of ABCD. I'm doing this, and you're still not moving forward. And the ambition in me, I kept trying to diet down, but it just kept coming back up because that's just who I am.
Right.
And so the ambition just kept coming back up. And so we're 7 years in, and my income has gone up quite a bit. By North Carolina standards, it still wasn't a lot, but it was a lot more than when we first met, but his hadn't. But I couldn't get him to understand that it hadn't because you're not doing anything for it to go forward. He just, and so as my income went up, I'm thinking us, and he's in his feelings. And so the last straw for me before, you know, things took a real bad turn. The last straw for me, I came home one day and I decided, okay, let me just try to make this work. I'm going to try to make this work. So I got my son up from daycare, and at the time he was about 1.5 years, going on 2. And I brought him home, gave him a bath, played with him, put him in bed early, and, you know, was starting dinner. And I ran to take a shower real quick. I was like, let's just, you know, have a nice evening. And I came out of the shower, and he was in our hamper sniffing my underwear. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so he said, well, you ran in here to take a shower like you were trying to wash somebody off of you. And so at that point, I just kind of,
enough is enough.
And I was like, this is it. And so I told him I wanted a separation, actually on our son's 2nd birthday, July 22nd of 2008. I said that I wanted to separate. There were some tears. There was some, you know, justifiable things that were going on. And one of the things that led to that was I met a gentleman at my job at that time, and we had a whole lot in common. We had a lot in common, and people just didn't believe that we were friends. Now, it did turn into something else after the separation and the divorce, but at that time, it really was just a friendship.
Yeah.
And my ex-husband at the time was just asked, he said, you know, well, you remember we're not supposed to have friends of the opposite sex. And I just kind of looked at him, and I looked at what return I got for that sacrifice before, and I just wasn't willing to give up the friend again. And so that caused a little bit of an issue, but in my mind, it was like, I've already given up this friend, and I've given up this degree, and I've given up this, and I've given up this, and you're not moving forward. I'm not doing it anymore. You either believe I want to be here or you don't. That was just pretty much where I got to at that point. And so for the next almost month, you know, things were just going back and forth. Controlling things started to happen. We had purchased the home, and to prove that I didn't want a divorce, I had found someone to rent the home. I took him to meet the woman who was going to rent the home, and had found an apartment nearby for me and my son. I didn't put him on child support. I didn't fill out any paperwork. I'm of the mindset, number one, we don't need our brothers in the system. But number two, I'm not going to beg you to take care of your kid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask a judge to tell you to take care of your kid. You either will or you won't.
Right.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things just kind of transpired. I asked him to move out, and he, even though we were in the hometown, in the city that he grew up in, his family was all over the place. All of a sudden, he couldn't move away. There was nowhere for him to go. And then that started to trigger me feeling like I was being boxed in, like I was being made to stay in something when I just had enough. And so it just came to a head. August 20th of 2008, that's when we had the domestic attack happen. And so that's when, he just decided he would just rather take my life than let me separate from him. So that kind of made the decision a little bit easier, of course. So, but yeah, that was the last straw. Seeing someone that I married and have been faithful to and committed to and sacrificed for, seeing them think so little of me that they would go into a dirty hamper to smell my underwear was kind of the last straw.
Right.
That
along
was
with the control, along with
the insecurity.
Yeah.
I just had enough.
Yeah. So now you've reached a point where divorce is final. Fresh start.
Yes.
How did you take us through the journey of the shifting of your mind and rebuilding and restarting a new life?
So the domestic attack that happened, it kind of necessitated that I didn't get the, off the gate fresh start. So, I had healing to do. I was in ICU for a while. And then all of this happened around the time that we had the economic crisis. So I was out of work for 3 months, just to go back for 3 months and be told that we were going to be laid off and our jobs were no longer needed. And so mine was a bit of a different chapter. So I immediately got the divorce as soon as I could. I've been told that, legal aid would do it for free because of the circumstances. But then once the year passed, I was making too much money. They couldn't help me. So I just got online and figured out how to do it myself. And so I did it myself. And the day that I, got the paperwork, I even remember the judge, he mentioned that I was the only person who came for a divorce that actually had everything together. Like everybody before me, they had to postpone it, set a new date, so they brought something back.
He was prepared.
And I was so prepared. He said, well, we need 3 copies. I said, no, you don't. I got all 3 copies right here. Just sign them. Just sign them, please. And he said, I'm assuming you want to go back to your maiden name. Absolutely. So it was, it was done, but it was far from being done. There was still the dealing with the fact that I actually married someone who tried to kill me. There was, the public opinion of family members, some who believed that he must have snapped because you cheated and you must have done this and you must have done that, and not just from his side. Right. Not just from his relatives, but some of mine as well. So there was a lot of that I was dealing with the fact that I now had scars, and we're almost 10 years in now. A lot of the scars if they're there, I don't notice them, but at the time they were very prominent. So I was still dealing with the healing. Then I was dealing with being in a new place. Then I was dealing with the fact that I now had a son, and one of the reasons I didn't want kids is because I didn't want to end up somehow becoming a single parent, and here I am, single parent, little black boy. Most people don't have very positive things to say in that situation. So I was dealing with a lot of that, on top of still trying to find my identity. I was still, trying to go out and date. I was, I was just kind of all over the place. I was seeing a therapist, but just kind of all over the place. And the financial hit didn't help. I had to go through foreclosure. I had to go through a lot of different things, where most people would have just said, well, if you just stay married, you wouldn't be dealing with this. And if you just stay married, you wouldn't have been dealing with that. But I can sit here 10 years out and I can say, even with what I went through, even with the attack, even with all those other things, I still would do it again. I would still do it again because I watched people who weren't happy. I grew up watching couples who weren't happy. I didn't want that. I didn't want that for my life. And, to a lot of people who are saying, well, I'm staying for the kids and I want them to have, both parents. If you pick the responsible person, they're going to have both parents. all I learned growing up was, if this is, I'll just say it like this: don't stay together for kids. If you want them, what kids need to see are healthy relationships.
Yeah.
They need to see people interact with each other in a way that is healthy. They need to see what healthy disagreements look like. They need to see what healthy arguments look like. They need to see what affection looks like. They need to see those things. But if you know you don't have those things in your marriage and you're staying for the kids, you have a 50-50 chance of them walking out of their house at 18 saying, I don't want any of this, because that's what happened with me.
Yeah. And that makes sense. Definitely, because I like what you said, that you have to, keyword you said, the kids have to see this.
Yeah.
So basically, whatever type of relationship you have with your significant other, the kids is watching this, so obviously it can play an effect on them.
Yeah.
Modeling healthy things is
That's
key.
right.
So I want to ask you, what is, after being a part of what started off to be a great relationship, and then things took a turn, and then you're now in a state at that time of rebuilding and identifying who am I at this time. What is your definition of love?
My definition. So first off, love is not. I don't believe that love is a feeling.
Okay.
I believe that love is a decision. I believe that love is followed through with your behavior based on that decision. And I think that before you ever get to the point of talking about love, you first have to, see the person at their worst. It's easy to love people in the first 3 months.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, oh, he or she is this, and he or she is
the
that.
puppy dog phase.
Right. But have one good argument. Have a situation where that person is being pressured. Have a situation where they do something that they know was stupid and they did it anyway. Have that moment where they're insensitive towards you. Have that moment where they disappointed you. See how they respond.
Yeah.
See if they apologize. See if they acknowledge that they're wrong. Because if they don't acknowledge it in 6 months, they're not going to acknowledge it 6 years in. So when you see that person at their worst and you still choose them, and when I say choose them, I mean they're being as insensitive as possible, and it just seems like everybody that could possibly come at you offering you what you're not getting at home is doing it, and you still turn them down, even though you know you're going home to not getting it. That's love. Now, if you stay in that situation too long, that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But love says, I choose you. I choose you when it's bad. I choose you when I'm mad. I choose you when we have money. I choose you when we don't. I choose you when the sex is great. I choose you when the sex isn't so great.
Yeah.
I choose you when we're bored, but I choose you. And I'm going to follow through with my words by acting as such. So that's what love is to me.
I want to ask, because marriage is so posted and seen. We got Facebook couples, power couples, and all different things. People doing lovely videos. Do you think that society or women, do we do it to each other, where we put the pressure of you should get married?
I think that society started it. And I think women, because of us genetically being made up to be nurturers and receivers, I think we've let it be imparted into us that marriage is supposed to be the pinnacle. And we've all seen that. We've seen women who have Pulitzer Prizes. They could have 18 doctorates. They could have 5 homes. They could have $1 billion in the bank. And there are some women who will say that she's still not successful because she's not married.
Yeah.
Because she's not married. And usually, more times than not, when we see a woman who has gone through a hard situation, whether it be domestic violence or whatever, we want to talk about her happy ending. And usually the way that they play it, they say, yeah, I didn't have this money and I had to live on public assistance for a while and blah, blah, blah. But I'm a millionaire now and I'm doing blah, blah, blah. And I also have a husband. And it's almost like they got to put that in there for that seal. Like seal their success.
Before they say their name, they're saying, I'm a wife.
The last puzzle piece.
Right. Now I am complete and you can listen to me and you can follow me because I have a man at home. I have a man at home. And, you know, I even, you know, sometimes will deal with, women won't come out and say it. I'm sure some are thinking it, but there are some men, usually the ones whose toes I step on. Yeah. they'll be the first ones to say, you know, well, how are you talking about a relationship and you're not in one? And what people don't understand is you don't need to be in a relationship to talk about relationships. Mm-hmm. You have to not be bitter. Uh-oh. You have to not be bitter. You have to want to see love grow between people, even if you don't have it at home right now. Yeah, that's all you need. Now, and I tell them, you know, I
can't hate on what you want.
You can't hate on what you want. Mm-hmm. You know, so I look at it as me telling the universe I believe in love so much that until you bring me mine, I'm going to help get everybody else's right. Yeah, it's not always easy. It doesn't always feel good, but when the time comes that someone needs help, I instinctively do it. So I know that that's what I should be doing. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's important that people understand that marriage should be a piece of a great life. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be the life. It's not. And I've even had some women who are much older than me who have come back and said, I just wish I could do what you do. Now, they don't know that they can. You still can. Right. But, you know, I've had some who have said, I really don't know what I would do without my husband because I've made him the center of my world. And if he dies, I don't know what I'll do. I've done everything for him. And I've sacrificed for him. And I've just been the wife. I haven't done anything else.
I haven't tried out my dreams.
No dreams, no goals, just wife. And there's nothing against those who have that as their goal. If your goal is to just be a wife, then fine. Mm-hmm. But if you really want to be other things and do other things and experience other things, and you've made the decision that the only way to show that you were a good wife was to let that go, you're kind of wasting your life. Yeah, you're wasting your life.
I want to ask. Okay, being in a marriage, one of the things that we've always committed to each other to say, yes, we commit to each other, but we also commit to maintaining our own individuality, which is something that you mentioned earlier. So for two parts, how do you maintain your individuality? And then if there is a wife or a man who is trying to figure out how do I stay committed and do my acts of love and being who I'm supposed to be to my significant other. But then how do I separate the two?
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is that there is a difference between individuality and independence.
Okay.
There's a big difference. Individuality says I still want to do things that remind me of who I was before I became part of a team. Independence says I still want to be who I was as a single person, but have the benefit of saying I have a ring on my finger. Yeah. Okay. That is where we have an issue. You know, some people don't agree with this, but I don't necessarily support hyphenated names. Okay. I don't support hyphenated names. Number one, because, you know, in some aspects, I'm from North Carolina. I'm a Southern Belle, and it's an honor to take on my man's name, so I'm going to do it. But what I have noticed, not with everyone, now if you're someone who was very influential and has made great strides with the name that you had before you got married, hyphenation makes sense. You don't want people to not know who you are. But what I've noticed is outside of that situation, most of the women who end up having issues in their marriage, they tend to hyphenate their names. They've been single so long that it's almost like they don't want to give up that singleness just in case. And if you go into any relationship with a just in case, it's already going to fail, because now you don't want to be told that something you're saying is wrong. You don't want to be challenged, because in your mind, everything you do is fine. And if you can't accept me as I am, then I always have money on the side. I always have a job I can go to. I already have these other things. That's not what's going to make a successful marriage. Successful marriage says, I'm going in feet first. I'm scared. I don't want this to fail. It's going to suck if it does. But I'm going to put in everything that I know I can for it to work. And, you know, I'll just be blunt. That's who I am. If you just want the benefit of the marriage, but you still want to be single, go buy your own ring. Go buy your own band.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You don't, you know, there's a difference between being a bride and being a wife.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being a groom and being a husband. And so we got to stop this, you know, just have the wedding. Just have your own wedding. And get all of that out of your system and understand when that night or evening or day is over, you have now signed up to commit to a person for the rest of your life, not knowing what either one of you are going to go through.
Right.
You're either willing to do that wholeheartedly, forsaking all others, the bitter single friends, the mama that won't stay out your business, the daddy that keeps trying to make you think that you're a princess and you deserve everything. You're either willing to forsake all others or you're not. And it's cool if you're not. But understand that the consequence of that needs to be that you don't enjoy the benefit of marriage. Stop messing it up for other people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and you went over a lot. I know these last couple of minutes. Definitely, those who do know Allison, she's a successful marriage coach, giving everybody about relationship advice. So I got a question. As a coach, what do you think are some of the successful guidelines to have a successful marriage?
I think, and to go ahead and answer the second part of your question with this one, I think one of the things that we have to do is start spending more time finding out why we're here. We got to spend more time figuring out what is my purpose, why am I here, what are some things, you know, and we have to start this early. We have to start this at, you know, middle school, high school, college. Find out why you're here. Find out what you're interested in. Yeah. Because what I've noticed is it's much easier for you to find a mate that can fit where you are than you finding a mate before you know who you are. Because who you are and who you become may not fit them because you didn't take the time to figure out what is it that I want to do. And that was one of my mistakes. You know, one of the things that I was taught, or not taught, but one of the things that I would hear a lot growing up is because of the way I looked, I needed to stay focused on books because there may not be anybody who wanted to marry me. And so in my head, I was like, okay, well, I'm naturally gifted with you know, academics. I'll just focus on that.
It became a complex.
It became a complex. And so then, you know, when I met someone who did seem interested, I hadn't taken the time to figure out what was marriage, because I decided I didn't want it. And then when I decided I wanted it, then it was, but will I ever have it? So I was just going off of, okay, well, he's nice and he's kind and he's faithful and he doesn't seem to be doing me wrong. Okay, cool. I'll choose. I love him and we'll do this. But none of that is going to work. What's going to work is knowing what you want, you know, having practice with boundaries. And the reason I'm talking about this before marriage is because you do have to do this before marriage.
Yeah. You
got to do a lot of self-work before marriage. What are my good points? What are the things that are great about me? But what is the stuff about me that I just need to fix? Am I argumentative? How many people have to tell you that you don't know how to communicate before you decide you want to learn how to communicate? That is so important. Self-reflection. Are you able to say, these things about me are not good. They're going to be destructive if I don't fix it. And I'm going to start working on it now. Do you know how to say I'm sorry? I'm sorry and I love you will kill just about every argument. Every. I'm sorry and I love you. And you have to make a decision that you're ready to divorce your ego so that you can love with your heart. You cannot be married to a woman or a man and your ego. The ego will always win.
Wow, it's powerful.
So that's what I think.
Okay, in that, it made me think of another question. Okay,
some good stuff, y'all.
Okay, what about, and this, I'm throwing a scenario.
Okay.
What about the husband, because you said that you have to be able to do some self-reflection and then also be willing to embrace another person's criticism about what they feel as if you should fix, because sometimes you see yourself, but on the outside looking in, people see differently. What about that husband who knows that the wife is argumentative, let's just say, using the same example, but he is not willing to tell his wife the truth because he's afraid of the backlash that may come from that.
So here's the way I answer that. I'm an Aries. I'm a fire sign.
Yeah.
I am classic textbook Aries. I acknowledge that, the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm passionate, I don't want to hear that you don't agree with me.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. Don't say, especially if I'm sleeping with you.
Yeah.
No, you're supposed to agree with me. And I do get in my feelings. I can get louder or whatever. My answer to that is, are you the head of your marriage or not? And so what I mean by that is, if you have taken on the persona that you want to be the protector and the provider, understand that providing also means, or protecting rather, protecting also means I'm going to protect her from her. I'm willing to take that hit.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take the yelling and the screaming, but you have to also come into the marriage strong enough in who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, the kind of man, I'll say it like this. You know how we talk about the dog whistles?
Yeah.
And how we can blow them and the frequency, we can't hear it, but the dog can?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have a man frequency.
Okay.
A specific man frequency that
Okay.
gets my attention. So if I deal too much with someone who just agrees with everything I say, I just lose interest. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just do. But if I have a guy who says, I know you're mad, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
I still love you.
Right.
But you're mad.
Right.
I know you're mad, but you're out of line. This is why you're out of line. I'm not going to back down. You're not going to intimidate me. It just is what it is. Gives me a kiss on the cheek and walks on.
Yeah.
I'm mad, but I'm turned
I
on.
appreciate that.
I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yes, that frequency
Yeah.
is like, okay, so he's gonna keep me straight. And I don't like to say handle because I'm not a zoo animal.
Yeah.
But I do recognize that I have a strong personality, so I know the right person for me will allow me to express it because I am very much submissive. Once I've made a decision that I want you to have my heart, all of that calms down.
Yeah.
But until then, because of some of the things I've been through, I am a little more difficult to deal with. I don't put up with things as long as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can really respect that and understand where this is coming from, you'll start to see that really significantly decrease. But it's only going to decrease if I know I'm with someone who is going to lead. I need you to lead. Don't be afraid of me. Don't be afraid of my mouth. Don't be afraid of my attitude if you don't agree with me. Don't be afraid of any of that. Lead.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know me. I am very comfortable with having my self-reflection time, saying, Allison, you tripping, shut up.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I can do that, but see that I've taken the time to do it.
Right.
And so some of our brothers are unfortunately married to women who haven't taken the time to be self-reflective.
Mm-hmm.
And to them, I will say, you've got to stand your ground. And then you have to see if she is willing to learn how to be coachable.
Yeah.
If she's not, you got a decision to make.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just that simple.
Go ahead.
So definitely, I mean, you answered that question perfect, especially when it comes down to the man perspective of it.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, another question is, who are you now, and what are some of the lessons that you learned?
So who I am now is still a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
I can look back at the marriage, and even though people think, they just look at the fact that he attacked me, and yes, it was a horrific attack. I still look at the photos every now and then to remind myself of how far I've come, but everything started breaking down even before that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the breakdown was I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know who to look for.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know really what I wanted.
Right.
And so the reason that I say divorce was best for me is not because of the attack that happened at the end, but it's because everything that's happened after that has given me a voice.
Mm.
A lot of people who knew me back in North Carolina that see who I am now, a lot of times they're just like, you're just not even the same. Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I got hurt more, I got used more, I got mistreated more, and I wouldn't wish a lot of what I've dealt with on anybody, but sometimes you just have to get beat up enough to get mad enough to fight back. Not necessarily physically, but sometimes you have to have that timidness beaten out of you through tears and frustration and being betrayed and being mistreated. And so who I am now is someone who not only knows what I want,
Mm-hmm.
but I have finally been hurt enough that I have a bad enough taste in my mouth that I'm willing to wait for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to deal with any more almosts.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deal with any more not quite. I'm not going to be silent if I feel offended or taken advantage of. I'm just going to speak up. Now I have learned how to use my words. You know, that was a process. I know when to speak. I know how to check, you know, people's energy, because it's more important to me that I speak for it to help, not for me to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop that too. If you're in a marriage, stop trying to be right all the time. I just thought about that. Anyway, so who I am now is someone who is far more ready to be a wife than I was before, because I'm willing to own up to, you know, the programming that may have been given to me in childhood that was well-meaning but isn't helpful. I'm able to, you know, have the lonely moments. That's the biggest thing for anybody, male, female, whatever. One of the biggest signs that you are ready to be married is that you are willing to have several periods of being alone,
patient,
before just sleeping or sleeping beside or just being in a relationship because you don't like your own company. When you're able to say, and I've said this within the last couple of weeks, I'm pretty transparent. I have moments where, you know, sleeping in bed alone sucks.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I have learned to do is talk myself out of that feeling, and I'll say, you know what, this does not feel good, but think about when you were sleeping beside someone that made you feel like you were alone. Think about when you were sleeping beside someone who wouldn't touch you unless y'all were having sex. That's even worse. I said you were in a good spot. Just hold on.
Yeah.
Just wait it out. And so I can say that, and I'll repeat it. I'll meditate, whatever it is that I need to do to get past it, because I'm at a stage now where I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for right. I'm looking for right, and I know that I'm worthy of right.
Right.
And I know that even though it's taking a little longer than I thought it would, it's going to be worth it.
Right.
So that's who I am.
Awesome.
So it's safe to say that, because my next question was going to be, would you take that leap of being married again?
Yeah, I think I would. You know, I'll be honest, with all of this stuff that went on after the marriage, I won't lie and say that the 18-year-old me didn't come back and say, I told you not to get married. I told you we had a good plan.
Yeah.
All you had to do was go shack up.
Yeah.
And then if he wanted to leave, he could leave. And if you wanted to leave, you could leave. You had a good plan. So I'm not going to say that I don't have those moments where I'm like, okay, a lifelong partnership is okay. Maybe I don't want to do the legal thing anymore. But I just have this feeling that the person I'm supposed to be with is going to make me want to be married. So I'm just going to wait and see if I'm right.
All right.
Sounds good. I know you said something in the beginning of the interview where you actually stated when you actually dating or marrying somebody, make sure, you said something about when you make sure when you marry this person, probably like if y'all going through some type of adversity in the beginning, it'll kind of help you get a better picture of how that person really is. And definitely that's something that stuck out to me because absolutely what you said, it was true. You know, it's just everybody want to be with you when everything is good.
Yep.
But when stuff going downhill, you know, that's when you can really determine.
Can you stand the rain?
Yeah.
Can you stand the rain? Come on.
So, yeah.
Can you stand the rain? Listen, I want to go back to the quote again by Jada Pinkett Smith. She said, make sure you are with someone who is interested in mastering themselves. What does that quote mean to you?
So what that quote means to me is find someone who is aware of who they are and who strives to be a better version of themselves every day. A person who is striving to be a better version of themselves, and that's something that I try to practice myself before I ever get married. I want to know me, because if I never get married, I'm still going to be with me.
Yeah.
And so what that says to me is, you know, I can say with all assuredness, I'm so focused on being a better version of me. I don't have time for gossip.
Yeah.
So the guy for me doesn't have to worry about me being part of any kind of a group of, you know, my family back home used to call them hens, you know, a bunch of hens just cackling. You know, I don't have time for that. I'm very aware of my great points and my not so great points. I know how to say I'm sorry. I know how to say I love you. I don't believe in games. I don't have time to create a representative. Who I am is who you get. I do understand forgiveness. I also challenge. That's something that they need to understand. If I think you're not being the best version of you, I'm gonna say it.
Right.
I'm not gonna back down just because you get mad or don't call for a few days. If you wait too long, I won't pick up the phone again anyway. But I think mastering yourself means that you are already in a place where you're willing to be coached, you're willing to love, you're willing to reciprocate, because you're basically saying, I know that one of the best things about me is going to come out through this relationship. And if this person makes me want to be a better person, I'm also at the same time not going to do anything to lose them.
Right.
And so I think mastery allows you to know what you want, what you deserve, and what effort you're willing to put forward to keep that.
Right.
And so if you don't know yourself, marriage isn't going to work.
Yeah.
If you want more than you want to give, marriage isn't going to work. So that's what it says to me.
Right. I love that. So mastering and working on yourself individually, and then coming together and pushing each other and saying, hey, you can do more. You can do more. No, you can do more. So, I mean, that's the key to it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I know that you guys have definitely gained value and so much knowledge from this awesome interview with our guest speaker, Allison Denise. Hey, if you are a power couple, if you are married, if you want to share your own perspective on this topic or more, please go ahead and share, tag, share it with the world, because we know for a fact that everyone can gain value from this. This is the end of episode 6, Millennial Power Couple. Thank you guys for watching, and good night. Cheers. That was awesome.
Yes, it was.
That was awesome.
I enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh,
I'm glad you enjoyed it. That makes me happy.
yes. The spirit, my energy was just like